Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Built for BV, the new platform for Guideline public company columns. We're very fortunate to have our presenters with us today. Adam Manson is Director of Valuation Data at Business Valuation Resources, and oversees the various products offered by BVR, including DealStats, our flagship data offering. He's been with BVR for 14 years, holds a bachelor's degree in finance from Seattle Pacific University and an MBA from Portland State University. Odin Murray is a financial analyst at BVR alongside his other responsibilities. He works on revising incoming closed deal transactions that are sourced from middle markets, as well as researching the Securities and Exchange Commission and other exchanges for publicly available M&A information. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Finance from Portland State University and pursuing a Master's of Science in Financial Management from Boston University. Galen Duncan is a financial analyst at BVR. He works primarily with sourcing, reviewing data from public and private M&A activity, and he holds a bachelor's degree in finance from Portland State University. And finally, Yates Sayers is from Intrinio. He's the vice president of sales at Intrinio, a disruptive financial data platform launched in 2015. Based at the company's headquarters in St. Petersburg, Florida, Yates strategizes, executes, and directs his teams to exceed sales revenue, profitability, and budget objectives. He graduated Beta Gamma Sigma from Wake Forest School of Business and received an undergraduate degree from the University of Virginia. He's a board member of the Beta program at Gibbs High School. And with that, we will begin our program. Adam?
Thanks, Jared, and thanks everybody who is joining us today. This is Adam Manson, and we are very excited to share our new Guideline Public Company Comms tool with you. Today, we're going to do a demo of both the platform and the Excel add-in, and we're also going to introduce you to Intrinio, who is our trusted data partner for our tool. We created the Guideline Public Company Comms tool to help our users easily identify a set of comparable public companies. The platform allows you to quickly retrieve financial statements, multiples, ratios, and other related data for your comps. The platform is very similar to DealStats, so if you've used DealStats before, you'll find the new tool very familiar, both in terms of functionality and features. And you're going to see that here in just a minute when we do our demo. Some of the key features of the tool include the ability to specify your valuation date. Specifying your valuation date on the peer group tab will allow you to pull the relevant data you have selected as of your valuation date. You can also include delisted companies. So if there are companies that are no longer publicly traded and you'd like to include those in your comp set, you have the ability to do so. You can also customize the view of the peer groups tab. This allows you to include the fields you wish to see, and you can also arrange the order of those fields as well. The platform provides the ability to view multiple time periods for your comparable companies. So if you'd like to see several time periods side by side, like say 5 years of TTM data, you have the ability to specify that. The tool also has an export feature that allows you to select exactly what you wish to export to Excel. So you can export just the specific types of data you wish, like specific financial statements, or you can just export everything. You also have the ability to save your comparable company sets. So if you want to return to a comparable company set in the future, you have the ability to do so. You can also save the fields you've selected on the peer group tab, as well as their order. If there are certain fields you wish to see for certain types of engagements, you can always pull those back up in the future. If you've selected one or more comps, the platform has the ability to provide you with related comparable companies. When you pull up this feature, it'll give you business descriptions and other information about those comparable companies. And if you want to add them to your comp set, you can do so with just a single click of a button. And the platform also includes access to an Excel add-in tool. So this tool is going to allow you to pull data directly into your Excel models. It also comes with some helpful templates that are pre-created for you. And we're going to demo a few of those templates here for you today. But first, I'd like to introduce you to Yates from Intrinio. Intrinio is our trusted data partner. And Yates is going to tell us a little bit about Intrinio and their data. So Yates, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Adam. As Adam and Jared mentioned, my name is Yates Sayers. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Intrinio. Adam and the BVR team asked me to say just a few words on Intrinio and the data we're providing specifically for the BVR platform. So thanks again to Adam, Jared, and the whole team for allowing me to participate. Intrinio is a financial data company offering a wide range of flexible, customizable data solutions. We've been around for approximately 5 years now, providing over 200 different data feeds in our a la carte marketplace via our API, Excel add-in, and via traditional file transfer methods as well. We've partnered with BVR specifically on our core US fundamentals and prices data set, offering our full database through the Intrinio Excel add-in, which is included as part of the BVR platform for you to utilize. The U.S. fundamentals and prices dataset you'll have access to is headlined by our fundamental data. We collect and standardize the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement data in-house from the SEC 10Qs and 10Ks. We use a proprietary machine learning algorithm to do the collection and standardization, resulting in the removal of human error from the collection process, as well as increasing the speed in which that data is available through the platform, which is approximately 10 to 30 minutes after the company files a new statement. We cover all non-OTC, US headquartered public companies with history back max to 2007. Also included in our fundamental database specifically are the actual as reported or non-standardized line items from those statements, if you'd prefer to analyze the line items and data exactly as the company is reporting them. Company metadata pulled from the SEC as well, such as CEO name, company name and business description, and company URL, and over 100 calculations and metrics such as the price to earnings ratio, market cap, debt to equity, etc. On the pricing side, you'll have access to end-of-day US stock and ETF pricing data, both the unadjusted and adjusted data, delayed last sale, bid, and ask prices from the IEX exchange, historical split ratios and ex-dividend amounts and dates, and associated calculations as well, such as 52-week high-low, several different beta calculations, and price change. Historical pricing data is available back to the mid-1960s where applicable for actively traded securities, and back to 2007 for delisted securities. Using the Excel add-in, you'll have access to all data listed via numerous Intrinio-specific Excel formulas. The formulas will be very similar in terms of functionality and design as most other financial data add-ins, so it shouldn't be really anything that you haven't seen before. However, it always takes time to learn any new syntax or formula structure. So to help, both BVR and Intrinio have created some pre-made, easy-to-use templates that Adam mentioned that will come with the BVR platform. These are great templates you can use in your day-to-day going forward, or you can, of course, take the specific formulas in the template and use them in a template or model of your own. So with that said, I'll now pass it to O'Day, who will run through the platform, as well as show some examples of what the Excel templates will look like too. So O'Day, all you, and thank you guys again to the BVR team for allowing me to participate.
Thank you, Yate. And thank you to everyone that's joining us here today on the Guideline Public Company Tool webinar. Now, before we dive into the platform, I'm setting things up here. Just one moment. All right. Now, before we dive into the platform, what I'd like to do is I would like to do some housekeeping items. In the sense of talking about a couple of the things that we want to familiarize ourselves before we actually dive into the process of filtering down and getting our comparables and doing our analysis. Now, the platform is split into two main sections. There is the top section right here, where it shows quick search, search, summary, display, sort, and download. This is going to be the section where we will be applying our filters, adjusting our display, and downloading our information via Excel. And in the bottom section, this is the section that's going to be the section where we will be seeing our results. As you can see here, the results would be in the format of a peer group list, as well as other more detailed information such as income statement, balance sheet information, and other more detailed information that we're going to walk through here shortly. Now, before we start the filtration process and start looking for the comparables that we want to use, I'd like everyone to direct their attention to the following number, 3,413. So that number is going to be the total number of comparables that are currently in the platform based off of the default time metrics, which are specified when you log into the platform. And the time metrics are as shown here. The first time metric would be the valuation date time. and this is going to be the date where you're starting your valuation, and you would want to specify that valuation date from once that valuation began. For the purposes of this demo, we're going to go ahead and put the valuation date as the end of 2019, December of 2019. And then the second time metric that we're going to talk about is the active as of time metric. And what the active as of time metric is it is when you set this time parameter, what you're saying is you're telling the database or the platform to return to you comparables that were active as of this specific date. The third time metric is the period type. As you can see right now, it's set to TTM, which is trailing 12 months. We also have the option of fiscal year and quarter, and this will present to us our results, whether in trailing 12 months, fiscal year, or quarterly information. And for the purposes of this demo, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select fiscal year end. And finally, the last time metric is going to be the period time metric. And this is going to be based off of both the period type as well as the valuation date, where right now it's set to most recent, which is essentially saying that based off of the valuation date which you have specified, the platform will return to you the most recent financials for all of the comparables which fit within your filtration criteria. Now, you can also select to not look at the most recent information and perhaps want to look at a prior fiscal year information as opposed to the most recent. Now, if we did select the period type as quarterly, the periods will be shown in quarters. Trailing 12 months will change the period selection as well. Now that we've walked through the time parameters and how the results are being displayed or the results are being shown, calculated based off of these time parameters, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start digging into the details. Now, before we dive into the details, though, a quick thing that I would like to point out is that perhaps some of you may be questioning, what is the difference between quick search and search? Now, the main difference between quick search and search is that quick search has a selection, a filtration selection, of the most commonly used fields when it comes to filtering down the database and looking for your comparables. The search tab, on the other hand, allows you to filter the transactional database or the Guideline public company comps tool by utilizing all of the possible fields that are within the platform. So if you were looking for a very granular, very detailed search, the search tab is probably what you're going to use. If you are looking for a general search with a fair amount of detail, then the quick search tab will suffice. Now, when we are going into looking for our comparables, there are one of two ways that we can do this. Now, as you can see right here, here is the list of the commonly used fields. There's name/symbol. There is SIC codification, industry grouping, revenue, total assets, and so on. And we can scroll down to see the remainder of the list, as well as click on the Add Search field button to look at other commonly used fields which we can add to this list as well. Now, the name/symbol is one way where we can start, where the name/symbol, it provides us with the list of all of the companies that are found within the Guideline public company comps tool. If we already know what we're looking for, we can simply type it into the search available name / symbol mini search engine. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add Nike. I'm looking for Nike. In this demonstration, we're going to be dealing with apparel companies. So Nike would be one good example. And then another good example would be Lululemon. And then a final good example would be Under Armour. And right now, as you can see, every time I am typing in the name of the company, it's showing me all the possible results. I click on the companies that are shown in this list, and it adds to my selected companies group. And if we scroll down, you can see that it's showing us 3 results which we have selected, which we have manually selected: Lululemon, Nike, and Under Armour. And also, when we're going about this method, what's nice is Adam had mentioned that there is a nice functionality within the platform which allows you to look at suggested comps which you can add to this list. So let's say we started out with Nike, we added Lululemon, we added Under Armour, and we want to add more to our list, but we're unsure what is a good company to add to the list. And what we're going to do is we're going to simply click on the magnifying glass icon located next to the companies that we're trying to look for similar companies for. We're going to go ahead and click on it. And it's going to give us a selected list of other suggested companies. So for example, Columbia Sportswear. And it shows us the description of the company. And then if we find it to be a good company, we can simply click on the plus tool, and then that will add itself to our comparables list. So this is the first way we can do things. But now let's assume we don't know. We want a more broader, we want a more general search when we're looking for comparables. So we can start things off by looking at a general industry, whether it may be in a, we can start things off by looking at a general SIC codification or an industry grouping as found in the platform. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to utilize the SIC codification. And as I said before, we're dealing with retail. We're dealing with apparel and accessory stores. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the designated SIC codification for that grouping. And then at this point, I will elect to also include a size metric when I'm looking at comparables within this industry. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to utilize revenue as my size metric. And in this case, I'm going to add into the min and max. As you can see, there was a min and max for currency-based fields. There is a minimum and a maximum placeholder so for you to input your range. And in this case, my range was 100 million to 1 billion. As you can see right now, the numbers are inputted as 100,000 and 1 million, but these numbers are in thousands. As you can see here in the description, it's telling you that the revenues are in thousands. And that's something to be aware of. All of the numbers that are found in the platform, on the online platform, are going to be shown in thousands. Now, if we do download the information into Excel, which we will be demonstrating this here shortly, the numbers will be downloaded as a full number, but on the platform itself, they will be shown in thousands. Now, at this point, we have filtered down the general data set to a specific list of companies, and we have specified the time periods which we want to observe. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll down. So this is the bottom section as we talked about earlier. This is going to be the section that's going to show us our results right here under the peer group tab. This is the list of all of the companies that have been shown or have resulted from our filtration that we have done just recently. Now, when we're going through this list, we're going to look through the list, and we're going to look through these companies and actually determine whether they are good for our analysis, to include in our analysis, or not good enough, and maybe we want to elect to exclude them from our analysis. And obviously, simply by looking at the list, that's a good place to start. Looking at particular fields for each individual company, where there is a very nice feature here, just a simple nice feature in the peer groups tab. If you simply scroll over the name of the company, it will give you a short description of the company, and you can read through that description and see whether this is comparable or not comparable. And also, as we said, you have your columns for specific financial metrics, but maybe these financial metrics are not what you want to analyze. Maybe because these are the default. These are set by default. Perhaps there are particular metrics which you would like to observe that are not shown in the default data grid. And for that, we would need to customize it. And what we can do is we can add and we can subtract whatever we want to see in this data grid by simply scrolling over to the top section and clicking on the Display tab. Now, the Display tab is split into three main sections. There is the Column Groups section, there is the Available Data section, then there's the Displayed Data section. Under the Displayed Data section, as you can see, there is the list of the name/symbol, SIC, industry group, and the list of all of these fields is essentially what is being shown here at the bottom. And how it displays is, from top to bottom on this list, to left to right. And what we want to do essentially is, if we want to customize this grid here at the bottom, we want to add or subtract fields from this display data list. Now, and how we can do that is one of two ways. Under the columns groups section, we have a list of pre-made groupings. So there is the company details grouping. As you can see, as soon as I clicked on it, under the available data section, it's telling me what's available in this grouping. And the company details grouping is going to provide us with a list of fields that have to do with the company's information. The income statement, it will give us a list of all the fields that have to do with income statement information, and so on. But now let's say we already know what we're looking for, and we don't want to utilize this grouping list where I click on a group and then I search for the field, I scroll and then I find what I need. Assuming you already know what you want, you're going to go to the search available column search engine, and you're going to click on that, and then you're going to type in the name of the field which you are looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for return on equity. As soon as I type that in there, it will show me what available fields fit this search or this query, and it's gonna display to me the field that I'm looking for. And now, how we can add it to the list is simply by clicking on it, dragging and dropping it to wherever we want. So right now, I dragged and dropped it next to the name/symbol. As you can see, it has been displayed next to the name/symbol column. And at this point, you can add or even subtract. So right now, if you want to subtract, all you need to do is simply click on the trash icon. So I have added the return on equity, and now I have deleted the return on equity. And as you can see, it is not being displayed in the data grid right now. So as you can see, you can customize this to whatever you would like, to as granular as you wish, to as simple as you wish. Now at this point, when we have customized our display, and as we customized our display, we added the extra metrics that we want to observe, and we're observing these metrics, and we're going along the list, and we determine that there are some companies that we want to exclude from our analysis. Now, it's very simple how we can exclude them from our analysis, and that's simply by clicking on the checkbox located next to each individual company. So now let's say these top 3 companies right here, I have determined that they are not fit for my analysis. All I have to do is simply uncheck their boxes. And now at this point, they have been excluded from all calculations. So anything that will have to do with the calculations in the income statement section, cash flow metrics, and all those sections, they will be excluded, as well as they will be excluded from any Excel download that we do in the future. Now, as you can see on the list itself, they're still there. But that's only, we keep them there for purposes if you would like to come back and revisit the list, and perhaps maybe you want to re-add some of these companies which you have deemed not comparable. And from there on, you can come back to the list and you can add them back and check them. But let's say these are not visually appealing right now, and maybe you want to hide them from your list. Maybe your list is even larger than 12 comparables or comps. Maybe it's a 100 company list. And if you want to remove them from the visual of the list, all you have to do is click on the Hide Unselected button, and that will remove them. Yes, Adam?
Would it be possible to stop for just a second and take a couple questions that have come in?
Sure thing.
Okay, excellent. We do have one question here. So somebody had noted that when you were hovering over the company names, a business description popped up.
Mm-hmm.
They had asked, is it possible to view the business description within the platform? And also, is it possible to export the business description?
Yes, yeah, that's a very good question. So when we're going through the example of the display, when we're talking about adjusting the grid, what we can do is we can go to the display and we can add business description to our display, right? Whether it may be the short description or the long description. The difference between the two is one is a simple description and the other one is a much more broad. It's a much more detailed description of what the company does. We can add both of these if we wanted to our grid, and then from there on we can when we go to the downloading in Excel, it will be included in our grid when we download this information.
Awesome. And another question that came in, so somebody had noted that you can select different period types, like such as you can do fiscal year and you can do trailing 12 months. They wanted to know, can you select multiple period types at once, or can you only select one period type at once?
Right. So now when we're looking at the peer groups tab, you only have a selection of one. But when when we go around to income statement and balance sheet and cash flow statement, and we're going to demonstrate this very shortly, we can see how we can add multiple periods, which we can observe side by side. Okay.
And another question we have here, so it asks if the platform provides stock volatility or betas for the public companies. So I know we're working on including the 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year beta for the public companies. There's not a volatility field within the platform, but you can pull stock prices in using the Excel add-in and compute volatility there. So that is an option. We do have another question. Somebody asked, so basically there's a difference between the valuation date and active as of date, and when would they ever be different? So when you're in the platform and you specify a valuation date, the active as of date will automatically update to match whatever valuation date you placed into that valuation date field. But if there are companies that maybe had delisted pretty recently before your valuation date that you thought would be a good comparable to include, there is the ability to move that active as of date back a little bit and include those companies. So there is that option. So that's something that you can do. And we did have a question. So somebody asked, is this new platform replacing DealStats? So the new platform, it's in the same format as DealStats, but no, it's not replacing DealStats. So DealStats will continue to be our platform that includes transactions of comparable companies, so comparable M&A data. In this new platform, the Guideline Public Company Comps tool, this will just be, Guideline comparable company data. So,
Right.
all right, let's see. Okay, somebody asks, can you combine a SIC code search and a list of additional companies? So, O'Day, if you include, say, specific comps in your comp set, can you also search by other parameters like SIC code?
So I believe the question is, let's say you're already building up the list on your own, so you're adding comparables that you already know, and then you also want to add a SIC filter. Is that the question?
That's what it appears to be, yeah.
Well, yeah, if that is the case, then yes, both filters will apply simultaneously, and then it will filter it down to that subset, if that is the case.
No, perfect. Yeah, no, that's exactly how it functions, like you said. So yeah, so you can specify certain comparable companies that you want to include in your comp set, and you can specify a SIC search or any other kind of search as well to go in tandem with those comps that you've selected.
Yeah.
And let's maybe just do another one here really fast. So somebody asked, are foreign companies included in the data set? So the data itself, so the public company fundamentals, the root data source are, SEC filings, so those XBRL filings with the SEC. So it's predominantly going to represent, US-based companies, but, to the extent that there are non-US companies filing with the SEC, you'll be able to retrieve their financials, here using this platform. And sorry, I'll give you just one more and then we'll let you get back to your demo. Sorry.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So somebody asked, as you're going through and looking at this, peer group tab and you're, adding fields or moving fields, is there a way to save this and return to it in the future? So if you came in, you want to see just certain fields, is that something the platform allows?
So if you want to come in and so here's the thing, we're going to go through and talk briefly about the save functionality. What you can do is, so let's say you want to always come back to the platform and you always want to look at specific set of fields. What you can do is you can save the platform in a way. You can make a saved search of which you did not apply any filters, but you only changed the display, right? And then from there on, every time you log in, all you have to do is go back to that previously saved search, and it will show you, and it will provide to you that customized display which you have set up prior. And then let's say you start beginning work on this template, right? And then you're looking for, let's say, maybe manufacturing companies. And then for that, from there, what you can do is you can save as this new search as a different search. And then that way you will have one save, which will simply be a template that is ready for you as a fresh canvas, which you can utilize to save as for other specific searches. So think of it as an Excel spreadsheet where you start off with a template and you utilize this template, and for every individual set of work that you do a save as, and it will save as a different file.
Excellent. And Yates, can I present a question to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So one user was asking about the underlying, one attendee was asking about the underlying data that's provided by Intrinio. And the question is, does Intrinio provide only the originally reported data, or do they also provide revised data?
Yeah, great question. So we strictly provide the revised, restated data. So in every 10Q, companies will usually restate the same quarter 1 year prior for comparison purposes. And in the 10K, they'll typically restate the prior 2 fiscal year periods. So we are strictly presenting the restated data. So if a company restated, their fiscal year data in 2016, that data in that filing would be historically available in our database from 2015, 2014 as well.
Great, thank you, Yates. And O'Day, I see some other questions here, but I think you're going to address some of these here
Okay.
as you go through the platform. So I'll let you get back to it. Thank you for taking the quick break.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to see these questions coming in, and please, for all of our people joining us here today, keep them coming. But now moving on to the demonstration. We are, as we said, we adjusted our display, talked about adjusting our displays. We talked about filtering down the platform. We talked about looking at the list that we had so far and removing some of the companies that we don't see fit for analysis. Now we're going to take it a step further, and rather than simply looking at the peer groups list, perhaps we want to look at the detailed information of each individual company within our list. And for that, we can start moving on to the following tabs, starting with the income statement. So when we're looking at the income statement tab, the platform will return to us the income statement, the standardized the income statements for all of the comparables that were found within our list, and the income statements will provide us information from revenues to cost of goods sold, to operating expenses. As you can see here, revenues, cost of revenues or cost of goods sold, and to operating expenses, all the way down to net income. As you can see here is the list of all of our every column is one individual company, and each row is one field for each individual company. It presents it in this format. Now, as we said before, or as we have mentioned before, you can look at multiple time periods at the same time. So right now we are looking at the time period which is presented here, which is going to be the most recent, right? We're looking at the most recent time period for each individual company, and maybe perhaps we want to add an extra time period that we want to look side by side. So for example, maybe we want to add a fiscal year 2018. We want to look at fiscal year end 2018, as well as the most recent period for each individual company, based off of the set valuation date. And then, as you can see, we have this example, Duluth Holdings Inc., where you can see the most recent fiscal year end information 2019, as well as the fiscal year end 2018 information. And from there, we can move along, and we can start talking about all of the other financial information which we can observe. Going on next to balance sheet information. And the balance sheet tab will provide us information on the balance sheet, where it will give us the details on the assets, whether it may be both current and non-current assets, as well as liability information on liabilities, current, non-current liabilities, all the way down to stockholders' equity. And then moving on to the cash flow tab. The cash flow tab will provide us with the cash flow statements for all of our comparables, showing us the net income figure and all the add backs and the changes in operating financing activities and investing activities, all the way down to the cash flow figure. And then after looking at the specific financial statements for our comparables, we can move on to the following tabs, which will provide us with more information, which could be which is going to provide us with more information regarding financial metrics and ratios on financial performance for our companies. So, for example, metrics and growth. This tab will provide us with financial metrics on our comparables as well as growth information. Financial metrics will include information on capital expenditures, net working capital, as well as enterprise value, as well as information on betas. And the growth section of this tab will provide us with information on the companies, as you can see here, the enterprise value, the market capital cap rate, the market cap value, and also some information on financials, capital expenditures, as well as net working capital, as we said before. And when it comes to that growth information that we were talking about, it provides us the growth information on specific cash flows. And for example, it's looking at EBITDA or other ones such as revenue and NOPAT, for example. It will provide us growth information on a quarter over quarter, as well as year over year growth information. And how this section is presented, as will be the ratio section and the multiple section, is that it provides us with a nice summary table on these financial metrics, as well as, if we scroll to the right, this will be the individual financial metrics for each individual company, right? But right here, there will be a section that will provide us summary statistics on each individual row. So for example, if we're looking at enterprise value, it will show us the median enterprise value, the mean, the min, the max, the 25th percentile, 75th percentile, the standard deviation, as well as the coefficient of variation. Now, what's nice about this section, and also the ratios and multiples section, and in fact, all of the sections from income to multiples, now that I'm saying it out loud, what's nice is if you're looking at a specific field in the rows, and you're unsure what the definition is of this particular field or how it is calculated, all you have to do is click on the name of the row, and you will be redirected to an Intrinio informational page regarding this row. So in this case, we have enterprise value. We clicked on enterprise value. It will provide us with a definition of enterprise value, as well as the formula for enterprise value, as well as some information regarding the Intrinio tag, which will be utilized in the Excel plugin tool, which we will be talking about here very shortly. So just as a quick reminder, if you're unsure what this particular field means, all you have to do is click on it. Now, as we walk through the metrics and growth, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the ratios tab. And the ratios tab will provide us with all of the financial ratios of our comparables, whether they may be activity ratios, profitability ratios, leverage ratios, or liquidity ratios. So it will provide us all of these financial ratios for all of our for the set of our comparables. And as I said before, it will show us a summary table, which will show us the median, the mean, the mins and the maxes, and 25th percentiles of all that information, as well as each individual company by itself. As we can see, the ROIC, the median, the min, the max, and so on. The multiples tab is going to be the tab that will provide us with information on the valuation multiples, of which the Guideline Public Company Comps tool provides us with up to 12 valuation multiples. And here are some of those multiples: the enterprise value, the EV to revenue, EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, NOPAT, and so on. And as you can see, as I mentioned before as well, there's the summary statistics on each individual valuation multiple, as well as if you wanted to look for each individual company's valuation multiple, you can go ahead and you can get that information if you wish. Now, at this point, we have we filtered down the platform. We've analyzed our comparables. We looked at the details of the information. We are satisfied with what we have. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to download this information into Excel. So we can include this information into our analysis, into our reports, and so on. For that, all we have to do is go to the Download tab. And under the Download tab, it will provide us with a list of everything that you can export. So if you wish to simply export the peer groups tab, you can do so. If you wanted to simply export the income statement information, you can do so as well. If you wanted to export everything, you also have that option, which is the all available fields. And but for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to simply download the peer group tab. And for the download function to work, and how it works is simply you check what you want to download, and then you click on the Excel icon. And then from there on, the system will process your request, and it will show you a screen as a confirmation. It will inform you that, okay, you want to download this many comparables. Is this something which you want to do? And then you will confirm download, clicking on the download button. And then from there, your download should be preparing. And as you can see, my download has just downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the Excel document. And as you can see, here are my results for the peer groups tab download. Now, let's say through this entire process, and you did the download for your groups, and you were unsure, okay, well, what information did I utilize, or what filters did I use? Maybe you had forgotten, and maybe you want to just revisit what you have done. All you have to do is simply go to the Summary tab. And by clicking on the Summary tab, it will show you a list of all of the filters which you've utilized during your work and during this process. And at this point, maybe you would be done, and you would want to move along to actually developing your report after you download this information. But you want to save all of this work. You want to save your work and come back to it at a later time, so you can revisit it. All you have to do is click on the Save button, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to do Save As. And all the work that we've done right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to the platform is going to prompt you to give the save a name and also associated notes. I'm going to call this demo search as a name, and I will call it input demo search into the notes. And then from there on, I'm going to save my work. And then if I wanted to revisit my work in the future, when I enter the platform, all I have to do is go to the recent button, click on the recent button. It will show you the list of all of your recently saved work. In this case, we only have demo search because that's what we recently saved. And it will give you the name, the associated notes which you have assigned, when this save was created, and when it was last updated. And from there on, all you have to do is click on the Apply button, and your work will come back as you have left it. And with that being said and demonstrated.
Hey, O'Day, can I
Yeah.
jump and ask you a few more questions?
Sure thing.
Okay, well, here's some that have come through. Somebody asks, when you do the export for the peer group tab, does it export the default peer group tab, or does it basically export what you specified, so like the fields that you chose?
Very good question. It will export what you have chosen.
Awesome. And somebody also asked, basically they asked, can you filter out comparable companies to exclude outliers? So it sounds like they're asking, is there like a one-click option to just remove outliers from your comparable comp set?
Uh,
I'll just respond. So there's no one-click
sure.
option to just eliminate comparable companies. But as you go through the platform and you look at the various data fields for the companies that came back in your search based on the parameters that you included for your search, you can determine if some of those are, outliers, and if so, you can just uncheck the box on the peer group tab to eliminate them. Another question we have here, somebody asked, will this calculate the harmonic mean as a measure of central tendency as well? That's a great question. No, it doesn't currently. We do have that in DealStats, and that's something that we could add to this platform as well. So it doesn't at this point, but definitely something we can add. So thank you for that feedback. Somebody asks, well, a few people have asked, how do I know what the definitions of the fields are? So if somebody's looking at enterprise value or an enterprise value multiple, how do they know what the definition is?
Right. So as we briefly spoke about during the demonstration, if we are unsure what a field means, or what the definition of the field means, or the calculation of the field is, all we have to do is simply click on it. So let's say in this example, we have enterprise value and revenue on our screen. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna click on it, and we will be redirected to an informational section on Intrinio that will give us, the information on the enterprise value to revenue. It will give us the definition. It will give us information on the formula, and also, as I briefly touched upon, it will provide us with information regarding the tag, for purposes, the Intrinio tag, for purposes of utilizing the Excel plugin tool, which we will talk about here very shortly.
Okay, so I'll just do a couple quick ones and we'll pass it along to, to Galen. So somebody asked, will this compute betas for your, basically an industry beta for your comp set? So no, it's just going to be the 5-year, 3-year, and 1-year beta on a company basis. Somebody else asked when we expect the betas to be included, and we expect them to be included later this week. So stay tuned for that. And somebody asks, will you be able to view the statements in common size format? So no, there's no common size statements provided in here. We do have other tools and other offerings that we sell that do provide common size statements. So please contact us if you're looking for that type of information.
Right.
And we've had a few people ask if there's any forecast data or analyst forecasts. And no, so this is historical data is included in here. This doesn't include any sort of forecast information. So yeah, great question. All right,
Adam?
and let's just do one more. Somebody asked if this platform computes industry risk premiums, so IRPs. No, those aren't available in here, but we do have another offering, BVR's Cost of Capital Professional, that does provide those industry risk premiums from a few different data sources. So that is available. So, all right, I will pass it back to you, O'Day. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Adam, for those very good questions. And at this point, as I was actually, finishing things off, and just telling everyone thank you, for joining me into the demonstration of the platform, and that now I will be kicking things off to my coworker, Galen Duncan, who will walk us through the Excel plugin tool.
Thanks, O'Day. I hope everyone's doing well today. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to share my screen with everybody. And what we're going to talk about today is the Excel plugin. Now, here's the tool that O'Day was just showing us, that GPC tool. And that last tab that we can see is actually going to be that Excel add-in. Once we're there, we can go ahead and click on Intrinio's logo, and it's going to take us to their website where we're going to be able to download the Excel. Now, there's two different versions of this depending upon what operating system you're using. If you're using a Windows operating system, you're going to want to go ahead and click on this link right here. If you're using Mac, you're going to go ahead and click on this link here. That's going to automatically start the download process for the Excel plugin. And once that's been added, Excel's going to look fairly normal. I mean, as we can see, everything's going to be the same. We still have home, we still have insert. Excel still functions normally. The only thing it's done is it's added this extra tab that says Intrinio. Once we've clicked on that tab, we're going to have a few options that we can click on. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your API key is up to date. That way all the information can be pulled in. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is this refresh data. Basically, if you are using one of Intrinio's templates or you've built a model using their data, anytime you want the data to refresh, you're going to hit that refresh data. This is going to make sure you've got the most up-to-date information. Maybe you've been working on it for a little bit and you just want to see if there's any extra information. Go ahead, click that. It'll refresh that data. Another handy tool to have is the Unlink Add-In box here that I can check. Let's say I've built a model and I no longer wanted to update. I want to keep whatever I've inputted there as of right now. I can actually unlink the add-in and it'll present all the values as values. That way it doesn't update. Even if I hit refresh data, it wouldn't update. The last thing on the actual tab itself I want to draw everyone's attention to is this Intrinio templates. Intrinio has actually done a really awesome job giving us access to templates that they've pre-built. Depending upon what you're doing, this can actually save you a lot of time. I mean, as we can see, we can go into banks. There's a few that we can grab for there. The two that I'm going to focus on today is actually the Intrinio financial data from the industrials tab, as well as the comps data. I do have these pre-pulled up as it takes a little bit to load. But for example, taking a look at that financial data, it's going to look fairly similar to the platform that O'Day was just showing us. The way that I go about populating these fields once it's been downloaded is for this specific one, I'm just going to enter a ticker. I'm going to use Nike as an example. That's going to be NKE. And once I've inputted that, I can either click update, or as I was mentioning, we can hit that refresh data, and it's going to begin to populate all of these different fields. To take a look at what that's going to look like, we can actually see here, everything's been everything's been added to. I mean, we've got a short business description, we've got long, we've got their last price that's been available, and then the other tabs that we can see at the bottom here have been populated as well. So we can go into metrics and forecast. We can see some valuation metrics here. We've got price to book loaded up for Nike. We've got price to trailing 12-month earnings, etc. I mean, there's just a plethora of information here. We can also see some historical stock prices. So for this specific example, we're seeing a daily one. But we can go ahead and we can actually change this. Maybe we want to see weekly. We've got a loading bar here at the bottom. Oops, just run away. We've got a loading bar there, and it tells us how far along it is at loading the information. So maybe if you like when you entered in a new company, you can go ahead, you can take a look down here in the corner, and it'll tell you it's 40%, 50%. So we can get an idea of how far it is on the loading. Within this, we also have a standardized income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. These are all, as they're standardized, all of these sections here are going to be presets. So total revenue will always be total revenue. Research and development expense will always be research and development. It's the fields on this side that will be calculated. So we can see here, if I click on this section, we can see up at the top how Intrinio has been calculating that, which can be super useful. I mean, maybe you're building a model that's going to be using total cost of revenue. We can already see a pre-programmed formula, and we can use that in our model, or maybe this model works out perfectly for you to use. The other thing Intrinio has done that's super helpful is they provided us with the tags within their templates. So we can see maybe their income tax expense. We can see which tag they're using, which can help us along when we are building our own models in Excel. The other thing I would suggest doing anytime you open up a new template, take a few moments just to take an overview look at it. You might be able to change, maybe you're thinking about you want to change something. They might have already, Intrinio might have already provided you with the ability to change that. For example, on this cash flow statement, it's presented to us right now in fiscal year. But maybe I want to look at it quarterly. Well, I can see that there's a drop-down menu here, and I can click quarterly. Once again, we can see that it's calculating down here at the bottom. And there we go. The numbers have all adjusted. Now we're looking at Q3 2019 to Q3 2019, and so on. And we can also see some historical metrics and ratios within this template. As once again, these are all going to be hardwired in there, and this is going to be the calculations over there. The last thing I want to draw everyone's attention to within this template is the as reported statement. Now, within this, all of these fields are going to be pulling from some type of data tag. The reason for this is I can actually adjust which statement I'm looking at. Maybe I want to look at the income statement, and this is going to go ahead and update. And the reason this is the as reported is this is going to be pulling directly from the XBRL tag. So it's not going to be it's not going to be the standardized income statement or the standardized balance sheet. It's going to be how the company reported it. This can provide kind of a sanity check for us, because if we click on balance sheet, just drawing our attention quickly to cash and cash equivalents, we can see that Nike reported that they had over $4 billion in cash. So we can go back to the standardized balance sheet, and we can see that for cash and cash equivalents, we've got over 4,000, but this is presented in millions. So there we are. We can see that it matches. So if there's something you're looking at, you just want to double check that it is correct, we can go over to that as reported. One other template that I think would be super useful for a lot of users is actually going to be this Intrinio comps tool. Just like O'Day was doing in the tool, just like O'Day was showing us within the tool, we can add different tickers in there. Once again, we can click that update, we can click refresh, or however we want to do it. And we can enter in multiple companies. If you want to enter in more than 5, you can always enter in more than 5. However, once, as I was saying earlier, the more you enter, the more information it's going to be pulling, which is going to make it take a little bit longer to load. So if you enter 10 companies in there, give it some time and it'll pull all that data for you. Within this, we can go over to info, and we can start to see the company. We can see a little business description, and we can just see some general information about the company. Where this tool comes in to be really neat is if we go to that comparable valuation, we can actually see these companies being compared. In this section over here, we're looking at the enterprise value to maybe EBITDA, NOPAT. We can also see the market value of equity being compared here. We can also see some statistics about it, as well as there's a few different benchmarking that we'll be able to take a look at, TTM financial metrics, or maybe we want to take a look at TTM net operating profit margin, things like that. So this is just a tool. This is just one of the templates that I think a lot of users would find particularly helpful in their day-to-day operations, or anytime they're building a model. The last thing before I pass it back over to Adam, I want to show everybody is actually going to be Intrinio's data tags. O'Day briefly showed us a section that looked fairly similar to this, and I talked about the Intrinio data tags that they put within the templates that they showed us. But maybe I'm looking at for a specific type of data that I want to use within my model. I can go to Intrinio's website and I can look for it either just by scrolling and saying like, oh, the one I'm looking for is on the income statement. Maybe it's on the cash flows. Maybe it's a US and global economic tag that I'm looking for. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm actually just going to go ahead and type in cash and hit search. And what this is going to do is this is going to search for every single data tag related that Intrinio has related to cash. So I've got cash and cash equivalents. I've got enterprise value to operating cash flow. I even have total current assets. As part of that is going to be cash. What I'm actually going to do now is I'm just going to click on cash and cash equivalents. And this is going to direct me to what O'Day was looking at earlier. Here's that definition of cash and cash equivalents. It's going to give me the statement type that it's on. The other nice thing here is it's also going to give me that template. So as we saw earlier when I was looking at that financial template, we saw cash and cash equivalents was part of that. So maybe if you're looking for total operating expenses, you search for that, and this could direct you in a template that is already pre-made that might help you speed up your work. You can also go ahead and click on this clipboard, and that's going to copy that Intrinio data tag to your computer, and then you can go ahead and paste it directly into Excel. I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to pass it back off to Adam now, and he's just going to kind of wrap up any loose ends. And I wanted to thank everyone so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, Galen. Thank you for going over that. It was very helpful. And thanks to everybody for attending. We do have some final questions that I was
Adam?
hoping to, yes?
Oh, sure thing.
Oh, sorry. Maybe that's a mic issue there for a second. But hey, thank you everybody for attending. We really appreciate it. We did have some questions about the CE codes. Hopefully you can see them there at the bottom of the slide. And yeah, before we wrap everything up, let's go ahead and take some final questions. One we have here is about the related comps functionality in the platform, how that works and where that data comes from. So BVR does proprietary research on fairness opinions. So these valuations of public companies going private and these valuation reports and fairness opinions have been filed with the SEC. So basically the engine that populates the comparable companies feature actually pulls those companies that were used along with others in comp sets by these valuation firms and these investment banks. And so, if you haven't seen it, the Fairness Opinions Research Service is a evaluation benchmarking platform that covers all these different fairness opinions and valuation reports. And we're using basically that engine of comparable companies that other valuation firms have determined basically mapped over to the companies in BVR's Guideline Public Company Comps tool. So that's where that comes from. We have a question here. Will companies on the Toronto Stock Exchange be searchable on this platform? So the data is, it comes from basically the US stock exchanges as well as the SEC site. So no, at this time, there's no companies that trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange that are included in the platform. Somebody asks, does the Excel template use the same valuation date previously selected, or do you have to tell it not to update? So when you use either the provided Excel templates, or you just use the the Excel add-in in conjunction with your own template or with a new Excel workbook, you can specify all the dates you want the data to be pulled in from. So it doesn't link to whatever prior selection you had made in the platform. So it's not going to do that. You can actually specify that when you're using the Excel add-in. Let's see, here is basically the same thing. Does the database include companies from all over the world? So the database is including companies. So the Guideline Public Company Fundamentals are for companies that file with the US Securities and Exchange Commission website. We have another question here. If I need to demonstrate the exact steps in arriving at a final comp group, is a single report generated that can be used? So when you're in the platform, there's a tab, it's called Summary. And the Summary tab is going to document all the selections that you've made while you've been in the platform. So if you selected certain comp groups, or sorry, certain comps for your comp set, or you did other search parameters, either in quick search or search, that's all going to be documented there. If you're familiar with using DealStats, it's a very similar feature. So if you jump to the Summary tab, it'll provide all that information about what you did to arrive at your final results. We have a question here. Somebody asks, can you retrieve both trailing 12-month and fiscal year multiples at the same time? So in the platform, you select either TTM or fiscal year. You don't select them both at once. But if you are within the Excel add-in, you can basically create whatever kind of template you want with whatever kind of information you want. So yeah, that's something you could do using the add-in. We have another question about how the pricing structure works. So we have basically two different options. You can buy single user access to the platform, and we also have another option where you can buy 5-seat access to the platform. So as a single user, if you're interested in subscribing, it's $1,025 a year. But if you do want to add on those additional users and upgrade to the 5-seat option, it's very affordable. It's less than $100 for each additional user. So what you can do is just purchase that 5-seat license, and that's $15.95 for 1 year. And actually, I'll ask one more question of Yates here, who can describe this better than me. But somebody, when we were covering the Excel add-in, had a question, what is an API key and how do I know that it is up to date? I think basically they just want some more information about what the API key is and what it does.
Sure. So so whenever you if you purchase the BVR platform, it automatically comes with your own unique specific API key, and all that means is it's tied to a specific account where the U.S. fundamentals and stock prices feed data set, which we've been showing throughout the webinar. Your API key is entitled with access and that data in the product. So if you use your unique API key in Excel, it means it's tied to your account. It's entitled with that production level access, and without it, you'd just be able to play or use sample kind of sandbox data from our platform. So that production API key gives you full access to our production level database.
Thanks, Yates. And if you purchase access to the platform, it comes with that API key and that Excel add-in. So we'll fulfill that to you, and we'll help you, get that add-in installed and get that API key entered so you can get up and running with using that Excel add-in. And if you want to learn more, the URL has been on the upper right corner of each slide in this PowerPoint presentation. It's bbresources.com/GPC. And reach out to us anytime if you have any questions. I think we answered all the questions that came in, but if we missed any, my apologies. Please contact us, info@bbresources.com. And we're more than happy to help out with any sort of questions that you have. So yeah, thank you everyone for attending.